Hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode number 17 of Pureblu Spotlight. Manish, episode number 17. What do you think? Yeah,
Man, we are rolling. Next month will be a
absolutely.
year and a half, and yeah, it seems to be good. How have you been, Ajit? All good?
Absolutely good. And I still remember, when we were doing a second or third episode, we were wondering, how will we get topics here? Okay, and we said that,
Yeah,
okay, let's do it as long as we can. And we are on 17 and we haven't missed a single month, and we got a whole list of topics on that. That's fabulous, man.
exactly. Well, people care about air. That's what it comes down
That's
to.
right. But anyway, for all those of you who are joining us for the first time, Manish and me are the founders of Pureblu. And Spotlight is a 30-minute session held every month, which we would like to share our thoughts on the three guiding pillars at Pureblu called RAP, which is reliability, accountability, and productivity. At Pureblu, we have two product lines. One, which is our SaaS platform, an easy-to-use software for air conditioning service providers to manage their customers, field resources, trouble tickets, and the life cycle of the air conditioning and refrigeration system. Our second product line is a smart AMC, where multi-city, multi-location, all kinds of brands of air conditioning systems are managed as a one-stop solution under annual maintenance contracts. And this also gives you a free IoT device, a device which gives you energy consumption. Every day in the morning, it tells you how your premises has been uh, consuming the energy consumption. And air conditioning is about 70% of that. And today, we're going to improvise on that smart AMC. But before we get started today, it's important how we got to this episode today and what we are planning to do about it. So, both Manish and me are both marathoners, and today we're going to talk about air quality. And when we did the last Mumbai marathon, and as marathoners, one of the things that we have on the race day is, I hope it's great weather, the superb temperature. It's just fun. And mind you, the Mumbai marathon is very close to the coast of this city, and it was actually great weather, fantastic, and everybody looked at getting his personal best. However, once the marathon got over and we started talking to everybody, and we realized everyone had one big complaint: the air quality was a disaster and we struggled to complete this run. That's what got us thinking, how did Mumbai, a coastal city, have such bad air quality? And that's how Manish and me started talking. What do you say, Manish?
No, definitely. I mean, one of the things that people, I have actually run most of those Mumbai marathons over the last 10 years. I didn't run this one, but I was on the route. And of course, I got to see you running it. And one of the things that everyone mentioned was how great the air temperature was. It was very cool. So everyone had really good timings. But the problem was the air quality was really bad. So everyone was coughing and hacking after that. So I think that kind of got us starting to think about, how do we monitor this, because we've always felt that air quality is always a Delhi issue. That's up north. It doesn't really affect us in Bombay, Mumbai, because we're on the coast. But this time, and we're still suffering. We're recording it. I'm looking out the window as we speak, and it's still very hazy. And so I think now people are kind of realizing, hey, we need to really take a look at air quality. We have to understand, what is PM 2.5, what is PM 10, what are all these different terms that we hear about, and we always see that it's red and it is associated with Delhi. And I think that's one of the things that we've decided is, since we're doing stuff in the air conditioning space that involves air, how can we have something to do with air quality at Pureblu? And that's kind of what we're going to discuss today in today's episode.
Yeah, but today's episode is a little different. So rather than Manish and me trying to share what we're doing, we've got a guest on our session today. So today our guest is Barun Agarwal. Hey Barun, thank you for taking time out and joining us
Hey,
today.
Barun.
And why Barun? Because he joins us from the gas chamber of India in Delhi. So thank you, Barun, for joining us and being part of it. But just to introduce you, Barun is the CEO of Breathe Easy Consultants. He's a serial entrepreneur with a versatile background and international experience spanning 25 years in several continents. He's a founding member of the Indoor Air Quality Association, the India chapter, and is also the immediate past director at IAQA India chapter. He has also served on the Indoor Air Quality Assessment Working Group of the United States Green Building Council and he also teaches a course on human wellness in the built environment at the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. Hey, thank you very much, Barud. But Barud, we'll get straight up started on this. You have called air as a silent killer. Can you just share with our viewers and elaborate on this? Why is air? I mean, it's you live because of that air that gives life, and you call it a silent killer. Tell us what it means.
Thank you so much, Ajit and Manish, for having me on this show. Really appreciate it this morning. Good morning, everyone. And air, right? It's a topic that has been closest to my heart, and I'm most passionate about this. So, super happy to be here on the show this morning. The silent killer, we call it the silent killer for one simple reason. The air quality that we are breathing in the country of India today is slowly killing us. It's invisible. The pollution is invisible. In a room, you typically don't see the pollution. And we're breathing that air. We can't stop breathing, right? With water, you can stop drinking water and say, if I don't get clean water, I'll wait for me to get clean water. But air is not something you can wait to breathe. Maximum, you can wait for maybe a minute or two or three or four at most. And then you've got to breathe. And when you're breathing, we are breathing close to 11,000 liters of air in one day as an adult, whereas we're drinking only 3 to 4 liters of water in a day. Now, that air that we breathe actually has a huge impact, not just on our lungs, as most people think and believe, but it also has an impact on the entire human body. So all our organs, in terms of our liver, our kidney, our pancreas, our brain, our heart, all of these get impacted because of the air that we breathe. And each one of these is getting the particulate matter is going and hitting these organs and creating problems. It has been classified as a class 1 carcinogen, the particulate matter in the air, which is the pollutant that we are tracking by the World Health Organization. And just FYI, people normalize a reading of 50 or 100, saying, oh, in Delhi it's 300, 400, here it's 100, or here it's 70, and it's absolutely okay. The safe guideline by the World Health Organization is under 5 micrograms per cubic meter. So big difference between 50 and 5. We're 10x what it's supposed to be. So there's a lot that needs to be done in this space. It's slowly killing us. There's statistics which say that people living in Delhi have lost 6 years of their life because of breathing the air. So right there, the silent killer.
Great. That's so true. That's what we always do. We always kind of rationalize, hey, our number is less than someone else's, and I always call it that the cream of the crop. You may think it's good, but it's still very bad, and that is very true about Bombay. But I'm a big car guy, so I understand about air pollution. All of that is bad. But the question I have is, if I'm confined in my house, what about indoor air quality? I've got the window shut. I mean, what are the concerns around that?
Indoor air quality is a huge problem. Indoor air quality, there are 2-3 challenges that one has to look at with regards to indoor air quality. One, the outside air has a big impact on the indoor air. Second, because the outside air is polluted, we tend to start closing our environments, not only because it's polluted, but because it's hot. And we love to have our air conditioners. Who doesn't, right? So once we have our air conditioners on, it's common sense. Let's shut all the windows. Let's shut all the doors, because you've got to save energy. We can't cool the outside city with our little air conditioner. So we close everything. Once you've closed everything, you start trapping indoor pollutants. We're all breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide. And that CO2 starts to build up in a closed environment. Also, there are volatile organic compounds that are being off-gassed from all the things that are in our indoor environment, whether it's the paint on the walls, whether it's the furniture, whether it's the upholstery. There are 1,200 VOCs that are being emitted. You might be using nail polish remover in your home, and the gases from that nail polish remover, the smell of that's toluene. You may be using a whiteboard marker. The smell of the whiteboard marker is a VOC, which is cancer producing. So all of these emit these gases. We keep our environment closed in our indoor spaces, and all of these start to accumulate indoors, and we breathe in more and more of these pollutants. So the indoor air becomes an even bigger concern, because we are spending nearly 80 to 90% of our time indoors and breathing that polluted air. Is it 10 times worse than outside? We got to be a little careful of that, right? There's a lot of marketing companies that will say, oh, indoor air is 50 times worse than outside, so go get an air purifier. I don't like to use those terms. The particulate matter, which is the big pollutant outside, is probably the same or maybe a little bit better inside. But it's the other pollutants which are not a concern outside, like the carbon dioxide and the volatile organic compounds. those are typically much higher inside. And that's what we also need to take care of, not just the particulate matter. So indoor air is a huge, huge, huge subject in itself. We've been working on this for nearly 40 years in Delhi, and we've got solutions that can fix the air quality. But the first step is awareness. Know the numbers, and then you can think about solutions.
No, that's great. So, in that, I think you had spoken for 2 minutes. You threw a lot of terms around VOC. You talked about particulate matter, CO2. There's some of the stuff that I kind of understand, but I would imagine most people would not understand any of that. So one of the first questions is, you also, you mentioned about monitoring. So what are some of the things we should be monitoring? And when you explain the things we should be monitoring, just kind of explain particulate matter. Why is it good, bad? What is CO2? What is CO3? What is CO 5,000? I have no idea. So it'd be great to kind of just break it down, or as the kids say, explain like I'm 5, ELI 5. That's what I'd like to hear from you.
Can do. So really, there are three main pollutants that we need to worry about. The first one is particulate matter. What is particulate matter? It's really, really small particles that get suspended in the air, and we are breathing them in. The harmful particulate matter is typically made out of black carbon and other dust particles, which are so small that we breathe them in. Some of them get lodged into our lungs. Some of them are so small, even smaller, that they go into the bloodstream and get to every organ in the body. This particulate matter is invisible typically in a small room or in a typical city also. And hence, because it's invisible, we are unaware of it and we are breathing it in constantly. So the first step, now from a limits perspective, the World Health Organization has said that this particulate matter should be less than 5 micrograms per cubic meter for your annual average exposure. PM 2.5 refers to the size of that particulate matter. So 2.5 micrometers in diameter or smaller comes under the PM 2.5 bracket. PM10 is particles which are 10 micrometers in diameter or smaller. So the number in front of the PM, particulate matter, denotes the maximum fractionated size of that particular pollutant that we are breathing inside. 2.5 is small enough to reach our lungs. The smaller particles, called the nanoparticles or the ultrafine particles, which go down to 0.003 micrometers in diameter, they are so fine that they go into our bloodstream and cause havoc across the entire human body. They go into the brain, they go into the heart, into the liver, kidneys, reproductive system. There are studies that have been done that even in the womb of a pregnant lady, they have found particulate matter, which has impacts on premature birth and lower birth weight and a whole bunch of other issues. So huge challenges across the board with particulate matter. The second pollutant that we need to think about, especially in indoor spaces, is CO2 or carbon dioxide. We've learned that in chemistry, most of us. So what is carbon dioxide? It's also a necessary kind of a gas in the air. We all breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. Our natural plants, they breathe in carbon dioxide and they give out oxygen. They need the carbon dioxide for growth. So the plants help us survive on our planet Earth because they take in the CO2 that we give out and they give out oxygen. However, in a closed space, when we close our windows and doors and we put on our air conditioners and our air purifiers, typically what happens is the CO2 starts to rise up. The 400 levels outside, the global average this year is 407 parts per million. 300 years ago, it was 350 parts per million, and that's the rise of the CO2 is what pretty much global warming is about. So indoors, that 407 parts per million starts to go up to 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, even 3,000 parts per million. Anything over 800 parts per million is considered to be unhealthy. It starts to give you headaches. It starts to make you lethargic. It starts to make you tired. It starts to make you sleepy. So in a vehicle, if you close the vehicle, when you're moving in a vehicle, if there are two people, the CO2 levels can go as high as 4,000, 5,000 parts per million if you're not bringing in fresh air and you're just recirculating the air. The challenge with fresh air in a vehicle, it's so smoky outside, perhaps from a bus or another vehicle that is passing by, that all that smoke comes in if you open your fresh air. So it's the challenge of smoky particulate matter or very high CO2. It's like a seesaw problem. So CO2 is the second problem that we have to solve. And the third problem is the VOCs, volatile organic compounds. There are 1,200 different VOCs in the air. Formaldehyde, acetone, acetaldehyde. There's 1,200 of them, right? And the sources of each one of these are different. For example, wood, natural wood gives out formaldehyde. Paint gives out a particular VOC. Nail polish remover, deodorant spray, mosquito repellent that we plug into the wall, huge emitters of volatile organic compounds. And most of these VOCs are carcinogenic, i.e., cancer producing. So you got to be aware of what you're using. The spray, deodorants, bad news, don't use them. Uh, Mosquito repellent, don't use them. Agarbattis, the scented agarbattis, a lot of VOCs and a lot of particulate matter coming from them. These are common household items that most people end up using and are completely unaware of the harmful effects of them. Nail polish remover. You use nail polish remover, make sure you do it in a washroom with the exhaust fan on so that the fumes from that nail polish remover go out of the house rather than stay inside. So there's many things like this that one has to be aware of. And we have to fix the VOCs as well. So 3 pollutants: particulate matter, CO2, VOCs. If we can fix these 3, we've pretty much taken care of most of our indoor air quality problems. Yes, there are some more like the NOx, SOx, ozone, but that gets much deeper and we'll get into it perhaps on another show.
Sounds good.
That's a lot of information to our viewers. I know this is
scared
too
now.
much to digest.
I'm really scared now. Can I
But
breathe?
it's too much to digest. Yeah, seriously. But you know what? At the end of it, at Pureblu, we've fixed a solution around it, and we'll actually try to say how do we get started around this, and that's also one of the reasons why we want to bring in. And for anyone who wants to know more about what Barun's talking, he's written a very interesting book, How to Grow Fresh Air. We'll post that link on Amazon. Get to Amazon and buy this book. It's a beautiful book that we read. It says How to Grow Fresh Air. So it's a fantastic book. Get that and read it. It's got a lot of information that he's said. So Varun, just quickly, one more question that we wanted to ask you is on ventilation. In office space areas, how important is ventilation? And how does it impact work? And also the ducts which are there in most offices, once it is installed, it is giving air, and I don't think anybody ever even looks into it or even concerns that as a problem. So from an office ventilation perspective, share some views around this as to how important is ventilation to an indoor air quality space.
Sure. So multiple aspects to that. Each one of your questions is loaded, so the answer is also going to be packed with a lot of information. But ventilation takes care of multiple things, right? What happens with ventilation? What is the meaning of ventilation? Ventilation means movement of air, and typically that is considered as fresh air or outdoor air coming into a space. When you bring in outdoor air, the outdoor air is typically very low with carbon dioxide. So you're bringing in low carbon dioxide into a space, and which hence dilutes your high levels of CO2 in a closed environment. So it becomes very important to do the dilution of the carbon dioxide. It also dilutes or moves away the volatile organic compounds because outdoor VOCs are typically lower than indoor spaces. However, the challenge in most places is that the outdoor particulate matter is typically higher than the indoor particulate matter or equal. So if you're going to bring in that ventilated air into the space, you got to remove the particulate matter and perhaps other harmful gases that might be in the outside air before you ventilate a space. Now, you need ducts when you ventilate a space. You need fans when you ventilate a space. And you've got to maintain all of your systems. In a place like Mumbai, it is extremely humid. You got to remove the moisture from the air before you bring that air in. In a place like Delhi, it gets extremely hot in the summer months and extremely cold in the winter nights. So you got to cool that air in the summers, and you got to warm that air in the winters before you ventilate that space with outside air. So you need now an air conditioner or a coil in order to cool that, heat that, or perhaps reduce the humidity in the air before bringing it in. So all of these things are necessary before we ventilate a space. Now, when you do these, you got to maintain all of these equipments, right? You got to make sure that your cooling coil is clean so that you have better energy efficiency. You have better heat exchange from that. You need to make sure that your filters are cleaned or changed on a regular basis so that you have the right effect of the pollutants that are coming in from the outdoors. And then you've got the ducts, which are connected to these fan units. They're called typically fan coil units or air handling units or ventilation units. There are different names for all of these. And these ducts will over time start to collect dust, will start to collect a whole bunch of things in them. We've cleaned out ducts. You won't believe this, but we've taken out dead lizards, skeletons from ducts which have not been cleaned for many, many years. I've found dead pigeons inside ducts of large facilities. So cleaning and maintaining your ducts is actually a very important part of air quality. And another part of ventilation, a couple of other things, because I was also part of the ISHRE team that wrote the COVID guidance document. And also we wrote the IEQ standard, which was first published in 2016. The second edition is out, and we are working on the third edition as we speak right now, the first indoor environmental quality standard of India. So as part of this and part of the COVID guideline, we talked about the ventilation in terms of the airflow and the temperature and the humidity. These are three other factors that also help in reducing transmission risk of airborne viruses and diseases. So during COVID, it became a very, very important aspect of a strategy for an indoor space to reduce your transmission risk. Can you make your transmission risk zero? Perhaps not. But you can reduce your transmission risk by as much as 90 to 95% if you take care of the temperature of the air that is being circulated within a space, the relative humidity of the air that is in the space, and the draft, the ventilation, the speed at which the air is coming out of your air conditioning units. So all of these have to be looked at. I mean, it's not as simple as I've installed an air conditioner, turn it on, and I'm done. There's a lot more science. There's a lot more understanding behind it. And that's where companies like you and us, we all come in together to make sure that the customer gets what they want without having to worry about it.
That's true. Wow.
Great. Thanks so much for that info. So, back to the book that you had written. One of the things, we talk about is, you had mentioned it, you're in an indoor place, you shut the windows, people have plants. Now, how do plants, does that help from any angle? And the reason why I'm asking is because I was watching a documentary, as you know me, I have to bring it back to cars. I was watching a documentary and they mentioned that the Ferrari factory has plants in their facility. And I wasn't sure if that was just for marketing or is there a real benefit of having plants where they build these Ferraris?
And what kind of plants? I mean, that I'm sure it's not just. You can't
I would have. Yeah, it has to be something special.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of research on that. We worked with NASA because NASA wanted to send plants into outer space for people to survive where there was no air. So using that learning from NASA, we did a lot of our research as well. And we came up with 3 simple household plants that help in giving out oxygen that is much needed in our cities. Also, one has to remember, we did a lot of R&D and research on plants. We were able to create systems which made a planter a lot more effective and efficient than a normal home potted plant. And so in our office building, which is about a 50,000 square foot building, we have 7,000 plants that clean the air, reduce the carbon dioxide, and put that air into the building. That helps us reduce our energy costs because we're able to reduce the amount of fresh air by growing our own fresh air, right? And within the ASHRAE standard, there are 2 clear strategies. One is the ventilation rate strategy, which tells you how much air you have to bring into a building from outside in order to ventilate the space. And the second strategy is the IAQP strategy, which is the indoor air quality procedure strategy. The indoor air quality procedure very clearly states that as long as you can maintain your indoor air quality parameters of particulate matter, CO2, VOCs, and a couple others that they mentioned, and the occupants are comfortable and happy, you don't have to bring in any ventilated air from outside. Now, I just mentioned a little while back that when you bring in air from outside, you got to cool it, you got to heat it, you got to filter it because of all the problems outdoors in terms of hot, cold, humid, and polluted. So if I can reduce the amount of air I have to bring from outside by growing my own fresh air inside, it has a huge impact on my energy bills. That's what we've done in that building. Now, can I replicate that in a small home? Probably not. I tried that because I put in 12 plants in my bedroom. There was no space for us to walk with a tiny bedroom that we had. And my wife was like, what the hell is going on over here? Get these out of here. I was like, no, one night, let's just sleep in here and just figure it out. The CO2 levels went from 2,800 before I put the plants when 2 people were sleeping at night, because outside is 400 in a closed room with an air conditioner. Even an air purifier, which recirculates the air, my particulates would come down to about 20 micrograms per cubic meter compared to the 300 outside with an air purifier, still not 5. And the CO2 would go up to 2,800 with 12 plants in the room. So there are different plants, and I'll talk about which ones just after. with 12 plants in the bedroom, it came down to 2,600 parts per million. I wanted it under 800, and I just struggled with that. Now I can't put 7,000 plants, I can't put 400 plants, I can't put 100 plants in my bedroom, unfortunately. So I kept figuring out what needs to be done, and finally we figured a solution where today my particulate matter has come down to 0 in my bedroom, and my CO2 at night. Earlier it was 2 of us, now there's 4 of us sleeping in the bedroom because we have 2 little dogs as well who are just right underneath me right now, luckily quiet. With 4 of us in the room, the CO2 levels are at about 550 parts per million versus the 2,600 parts per million.
Wow.
So there's technologies which I was able to discover, find, and now implement. And we've done this across Delhi, Bombay, many other cities now, where people actually get super clean. I call it Davos in Delhi. Swiss quality air in Delhi is what we're able to get to our customers. So the 3 plants that we tried, if you have lots of space, I say, go ahead, put as many plants, because each plant is doing something. And 3 plants, which are absolutely brilliant. And I'll talk about 3, but we've come up with a list of 50 plants, which are brilliant. And you'll have to go through that book.
And I guess you mentioned that all in this book out here, right? Yeah. So that's the book that you need to get. And it's called How to Grow Fresh Air. It's available on the Amazon. You should read it. It's very interesting, very informative. And there's only so much we could actually share because we have a 30-minute paucity of time. But get that book. It's fabulous. And Barun, it's been very enlightening, to be very honest with you. You and I have spoken, but even in the last 25 minutes, I think I just got so many things that's just coming onto my mind. And, and like how Manish asked, should I stop breathing? Or should I still breathe? But thank you so much, Barun. Thank you very much for taking your time out and being with us today and sharing all that information. But to all our viewers, we want to actually get this started, get this moment started. Because the problem with air quality is that you don't know what's happening in the air. You can see a dirty water. You don't like a good food. It impacts you directly. Air quality, you can't feel what's happening around at all. So what we've done is at Pureblu, we've actually built a small device. We have a device called as an air quality monitor. It's very easy to use. It's a plug-in. It's got a SIM card in it, and you just plug it into a regular socket, leave it in your room. It connects to a platform, and it starts sending you out a report in the morning at 8 o'clock onto your WhatsApp, which tells you as to what happened in the last 24 hours in your room or in your office or in the retail outlet. Like we've had customers who said that, listen, can I put this report out there in front of my door so my customers who walk in knows what the air quality is all about? And Manish, you led that whole project here. So share with our viewers as to how we went about it and what that report looks like and what we intend to achieve with that.
Sounds good. So yeah, if you just bring up the report on screen, then I can kind of walk through it. But basically from what we've done from a tech perspective is it's a standalone device. It connects to a 4G and of course at some point a 5G network. And this is basically monitoring 3 different things. It's monitoring particulate matter 2.5, particulate matter PM10, and CO2. And what we decided to do was one of the things that we've already realized is when people see things on a daily basis, they're able to make a decision. If we were to send this report at the end of the month, it really wouldn't do anyone any justice. So what we have done is we send this report every morning at 8 a.m. and it shows you the previous 24 hours and it gives you a very simple indication whether it's good, moderate, or bad. Almost like a traffic signal. If I were to tell you the PM, 2.5 level is 94 or 30, you wouldn't really know any of that. But if I tell you it's green, then you probably know, hey, that means it's good. If it's yellow, okay, there's an issue. And if it's red, that means don't breathe. So that's what we've done with this. And what is happening is this is monitoring it every minute. It's taking a reading. It's sending it back to our secure cloud. Then we aggregate the data and then we aggregate it into hourly chunks. And then we take a daily average as well. So as you can see at the top of this report, we've got a daily average telling you over the last 24 hours, if you were to take each hour slice and divide it by 24, this is what the number is. So just at a high level, you know where things are. Now, if you want to break it down and get into it an hourly, you can go a little bit in the second half of this one-page PDF is the hourly time slice. So it tells you, from 12 a.m. all the way for the next 24 hours, what it is every hour. So you can see, if you've got an office and you can see at least during the working hours of, let's say, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., if it's good, that's great. Then hey, your office productivity is doing well. And then you can kind of decide how to make changes. You can, call in an HVAC vendor and kind of fix if there's some sort of issue with ventilation or things like that. But the bottom line is you get this every morning. And we decided to do it in WhatsApp, not an email, because most of us live in WhatsApp, and it's a very simple report. You get it every day, and you can do some sort of action with it. If you need to interact with us at Pureblu, you can also get on the chat, and we can talk to you and kind of figure out what needs to get done. But this has been something that we have, the minute we implemented it, I think everyone on the team was like, I want that device. I want the device in my house, because it really is a game changer. When you see it every morning, you kind of realize, oh my God, whether the air quality is good or bad. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to get to that level of where everyone's looking at it every day. When you look at it once a month, they're like, whatever. And then when there's so much data, you just kind of let go of it. But when it's every day in your face, hey, it's still red. Hey, it's still red. Hey, it's still red. Then you kind of like, oh my God, I have to do something. Now, if I show this report to my wife, she'll probably say, let's just move out of this place where we are, But that's the kind of action you want. You want people to be like, hey, we need to do something about it, And I think that's what's been great about this. So so I mean, I know you wanted me to talk about the tech perspective, but the truth of the matter is there is a lot of technical stuff happening, but the bottom line is at least the client, the consumer, the end user can actually see something and do something actionable, and we decided to, do it what we call the traffic signal method. You can see it green, yellow, red. I know what to do. The minute I see all reds, we need to pull the fire alarm and do something. And if it's all green, you're good to go. So, but yeah, that's really it,
Yeah. So that's a great report. Actually, we've just launched it from today, the services. And this actually came from our learnings of launching our first IoT device, which, if you remember, was a smart energy monitor. Most of our clients have been using this. And mind you, we don't charge for these things. This comes part of an annual maintenance contract. So we are not selling devices and trying to make money out of it. But, but we need to monetize. We need to make a living out of it. So we are in the business of air conditioning maintenance. And you just have to sign up with us. You get a smart meter, or you can also get a Pureblu air quality, and we could work around these things as to how you can use these to improvise. And we've learned from these energy monitors as to how people have taken action, and they've written to us about it. So that's the
real quick, Ajit,
please
just real quick. One more thing I forgot to add. Typical Apple style. It's shipping today. So you can get it today. It's not available later. It's available today. That's what we wanted to do, is, of not talk about some futuristic thing, or it's coming in the next 3 months, 6 months. It's available today, and we've been testing it. And it's just an amazing eye opener for me. Of course, when I see that, it's actually quite sad sometimes when you think about this is what we're breathing on a daily basis. And it's something that we shouldn't have to, there's some things you can control, and that's what we're trying to do.
That's right. So here comes the sales pitch. Like how Manish said, we are ready for it. That's the number on the screen. So if you're looking at air conditioning maintenance, call up us on this number or drop an email, and we'll have our team get in touch with you quickly. And as you know, we are an aggregated platform. So if you are a service provider in the business, that's right. And if you are in the services business of air conditioning, then over the past 3 years, we've had a great platform which is being used by clients not only in India but even internationally. That's the number you can call us on, and our team will get in touch with you on how to use a SaaS platform and how can you be part of the aggregated services. Because all these AMCs that we take, we are actually partnering with all these SaaS users and service providers across the country and controlling the process and making sure our customers get a single dashboard to maintain all the multiple locations, multiple air conditioners, any brand, any kind across. And that's how we've been actually doing it. So we did overshoot by about 3-4 minutes, but I thought the topic was just too interesting not to keep talking. We could just keep talking about it, the three of us on this. But thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, Varun. Thank you for taking time out and sharing your insights. We've shared that Amazon link on those chats. Click onto it. It's a beautiful book. It's fantastic. It's got a lot of information about it, like the plants that he spoke about, and PowerPool Business Center. That's a whole project that they did and how they've actually benefited. A lot of good information. think about indoor air quality. It's all about your health, or who knows? If you just tend to ignore, we might just have a pandemic around it. God knows. All right.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
having
very
me.
much, guys. Thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
Varun.
Thank you so.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Thanks, Varun. Thank you,
Ajit.
everybody. See you next month with another spotlight. Bye bye.